After my brother lost his memory, he was kind and considerate to everyone except me. He said I destroyed the academic research he was so proud of and broke up him and the woman he loved. You're a monster. You're disgusting. I will never be into men. Just give up and die. But David, you were the one who seduced me 8 years ago. The day you saved me from that fugitive, you clutched your bleeding chest and smiled. Vincent, you said, I'd give my life for you. Can we be together? And now he's a newlywed. I, his disgrace, jumped from the cruise ship where he held his wedding. David, I'm paying you back the life I owed you. From now on, may we never meet again, in this life or the next. My brother has a scar on his chest. He got it 8 years ago, saving me. For 8 years, I kissed it countless times, a reverent ritual. Pleasure always mingled with pain. I'd say, David, how could you be so reckless? You were so close to dying. He would just smile, his cool eyes filled with affection. Not saving you would have been a real death sentence. Vincent, I can't live without you. My brother loved me to the bone, so much that he was willing to die for me. But now, he has amnesia. It happened the day before we were supposed to leave for Amsterdam to get married. My brother's room became off-limits to me. Unlike before, when it was our parents' rule, this time it was his own. Everything changed overnight. Our past, so full of love, now felt like a utopia I'd imagined all by myself. If anyone even mentioned it, he'd fill with disgust. How could I possibly be in love with my own brother? Stop spreading rumors. Is sick. That night, he found me and said, for the sake of both our reputations, we should keep our distance from now on. The coldness in his expression stabbed me in the heart. I gave a sad smile. David, you're joking, right? Just yesterday, he was holding me, telling me we'd be together forever. You don't really have amnesia. You're just messing with me, right? Is this some new kind of bachelor party prank you and your friends came up with? He frowned at my questions and spoke in a cold voice. Vincent, when have I ever joked with you about something like this? He paused, as if holding back a sense of shame. Maybe you and I did have some kind of twisted relationship before, but I have amnesia now. Just pretend you've forgotten all of it, too. I stared at him stunned, shaking my head as tears streamed down my face. No, I don't want to forget. I grabbed his sleeve in a panic. David, you were the one who said you loved me 8 years ago. You said you'd love me forever. He violently shook my hand off, looking at me like I was some kind of monster. Shut up. I hope this is the last time I ever hear those words from you. If there's a next time, don't blame me for disowning you as my brother. My parents arranged a marriage for my brother. He had a new fiancée in no time. She was a beautiful girl with a sweet voice. She would pick him up from work and call him David in that coquettish way. My brother used to coax me in bed, trying to get me to say his first name. I was too embarrassed and never would. Now, that name no longer belongs to me. I clenched my sleeves, trying to whisper it. Just 2 syllables, but they scraped against my tongue, leaving my mouth raw. I tied my brother up and locked him in the basement of our house in the suburbs. When he woke up, he was horrified. Vincent, are you insane? I smiled at him. You used to call me Vincent. He struggled free of the ropes and slapped me across the face. It hurt. The taste of blood filled my mouth. I licked the broken skin inside my cheek, rose through the stinging pain, and shackled him. As he struggled, I gave him a bloody kiss. Don't waste your energy, David. I drugged your water. You have no strength. You can't beat me. He was furious, but his body started to react to my touch. I pointed it out to him, my smile mixed with tears. David, this isn't fair to me. His body still loved me, but his mind had learned to hate me overnight. And it's not fair to that girl. Does she know that just a week ago her fiancé was gay? The veins on his forehead bulged as he roared. Shut up. I told you to shut up. His face was a mask of agony, a mix of ferocity and some lingering trace of affection. After a moment, he lowered his head, his voice almost a plea. Please let me go. I've forgotten everything. I just want to live a normal life from now on. I'm not into men. But David, I wasn't born this way either. You're the one who led me down this path of no return. And now you want to abandon me in the cruelest way possible. The basement door was kicked open, and our father stormed in, his face contorted with rage. The fist met my face. He grabbed me by the collar and dragged me out. I should have sent you away with him. It would have been better if you died than turned out gay. Your brother is back to normal now. Why can't you just leave him alone? Vincent, you should just die. I was sent to a conversion therapy center. My mother's disgusted voice was faint but clear. Yes, do whatever you want. I don't care if you kill him. 1 month. Make him normal. If that doesn't work, use the other method. I banged on the iron bars, screaming, "You have no right to control me. Let me out." Outside the bars was my mother's cold face. My stepfather's figure lurked like a ghost at the end of the hall. "I have every right. I'm your mother. After seducing your brother and carrying on like this for years, you still have the nerve to shout." The sound of her high heels faded away. The sun set completely, leaving only darkness. The floor was damp and cold, a chill seeping into my bones. It shouldn't have been like this. For the past 20 years, they never cared about me. Because we were a blended family, my brother and I were seen by our mother and stepfather as stains from their previous relationships. They loved each other, so they hated the children from their past lives. When they were happy, they'd throw some money at us. When they weren't, it was yelling and beatings. My brother raised me. We had only each other. Anyone else in the world could have said it. How could you fall in love with your own brother? But not them. This was their creation. Someone grabbed my hair and yanked me out of the cell. The faces of the center's staff were a blur, but their hands were viciously strong. In love with your own brother? How can someone be as disgusting as you? Still love him? Open your mouth and say it. I mumbled a yes and was rewarded with another beating. The pain from the stun baton mixed with the ache of my bruises. I coughed up a mouthful of blood. The abuser paused, then sneered. "Rich boys are so fragile. Just a couple of hits and he's spitting up blood. If you want less pain, change your answer. Just admit you don't love your brother anymore, and we'll let you go." I refused to change my answer and was tortured day after day. My brother just lost his memory. He forgot me. I didn't blame him, but I didn't want to forget. I was the only one who remembered our love. The person in the cell next to me was beaten until he lost control of his bladder. Blood and urine pooled on the floor. I hugged myself in the corner, unable to stop shaking. My stepfather came to see me. He stood outside the bars, looking down at me. "Keep this up, and that'll be you," he said coldly. "Once you're a broken mess, let's see how David could possibly still love you." He looked me up and down with a strange, knowing smile. What a pathetic sight. We should have David come see you. After all, you two are brothers. That night, my brother came to see me. He froze when he saw the bruises covering my body. Then, a wave of disgust washed over him. He gagged instinctively and quickly walked out. He didn't say a single word to me. My stepfather stepped out from the shadows, a polite smile on his face, like a monster wearing human skin. "Forgot to tell you, your brother is getting married soon. The wedding is set for a week from now. You've met the bride-to-be. She's gentle, graceful, and kind. If you can survive this week, you might even be lucky enough to attend his wedding." To get out of the conversion center, I started to lie. The staff asked me, "Do you still love your brother?" My eyes were vacant as I shook my head. No. They increased the voltage, asking again to make sure no one was faking it. I clenched my jaw and answered through the convulsions. "I don't." The staff was finally satisfied. They called my mother and told her she could pick me up in 3 days. About the payment, it will be as we discussed. Don't worry, he's not fooling us. We'll keep questioning him the same way for the next 3 days. No one can lie when they're barely conscious. Oh, and we offer a lifetime guarantee on our services, so you have nothing to worry about. I survived the 3-day cooling-off period. Covered in injuries, I was picked up by our housekeeper. My room was locked from the outside. Your father gave the order. He's worried you'll ruin the young master's wedding preparations, so you'll be supervised for now. But don't worry, you'll be allowed to attend the wedding. It wouldn't look right otherwise. I escaped in the middle of the night to find my brother. But it was my stepfather sleeping in my brother's room. He sat up, frowning at me like I was a piece of trash. "What are you doing here? Looking for David? Didn't your mother say you were cured?" I licked my dry lips and forced a stiff smile. "I came to apologize to my brother. I was being ridiculous before, and I hope he can forgive me." My stepfather waved a dismissive hand. "David has already moved out. He won't be coming back here. Now get out. I'll pass along your message." I was about to turn and leave, but he called me back. "By the way, your brother said he left something for you. Do you want to see it?" My heart pounded, but when I met his cold, snake-like gaze, I instantly calmed down. "I don't want to see it. Please get rid of it for me." Only then did my stepfather show a satisfied smile. "It seems you've truly repented." He sounded almost disappointed. "I was thinking if you still had feelings for your brother, I'd lock you up until after his wedding. But now it seems that won't be necessary." "Good. It saves me from the media saying I mistreat my stepson." Cold sweat beaded on my palms. So, my brother hadn't left me anything at all. It was all just a test. My brother's wedding was held on a cruise ship. When people from our circle saw me, they all had complicated looks on their faces. Those who held grudges against me were gloating. "Why are you so thin? Pining for your brother? You're a guy, so why are you so desperate to get fucked? Can't you live without your brother? If you're really that itchy, you can come find me. I'll get some guys to help you out." When David was around, they wouldn't have dared to say a word. Now that I didn't have his protection, they threw every vulgar insult at me. I lowered my eyes and didn't answer. My brother heard them from a short distance away. He only frowned. A second later, the woman beside him pulled him by the arm to go make a toast. When he begged me to be with him, he once said, "Vincent, don't be afraid. As long as I'm here, they won't dare to say a word." Now, his kindness was reserved for someone else. The insults and humiliation were mine to bear alone. I was pushed toward the ship's railing. "Why so quiet? Weren't you so arrogant before? Without your brother, you're nothing." My chin was grabbed, and they forced me to look up at the center of the crowd. "See that? Your brother's getting married. Now you're the only monster left who's into men. How do you have the nerve to be alive? The nerve to come to this wedding? If I were you, I'd jump off this cruise ship and just end it all. Don't you love your brother? Why won't you die for him? If you die, he'll be free of this stain." The ceremony reached its final stage. The bride and groom exchanged rings. Everyone's face was glowing with happiness, except for mine. As they shoved me, I turned and leaped from the cruise ship. "David, the life I owed you, I'm giving it back today. From now on, may we never meet again, in this life or the next." The icy seawater swallowed me whole. My body sank, the light from the surface growing more and more distant. Then another splash, as if someone else had jumped in. Through my blurry vision, someone was swimming toward me, fast. I was rescued and brought onto a fishing boat. I woke up to the rocking of the waves. A fisherman and his wife had a sturdy-looking boy of about 8. He leaned over the bed to look at me, like a cute puppy wagging its tail. "Hey, did you swim to that island all by yourself? That's awesome." I asked him what island he was talking about. He thought for a moment. "Well, maybe it's not really called that, but my dad always calls it the deserted island. And that's too many words, so I just call it Black Isle." I said, "I don't think I can swim." He was shocked. "Huh? Then how did you end up there?" I lowered my eyes and replied softly, "Maybe I was washed ashore by the waves." The woman, who was cooking porridge, turned to look at me. "That island is really remote, surrounded by open water. If you'd fallen off a ship, you'd be more likely to sink to the bottom. Did someone save you?" An image flashed through my mind. Just as I tried to focus on it, a sharp pain shot through the back of my head. I hissed and pressed my hand against the spot. The husband came in from the deck, saw me holding my head, and flashed a smile full of tobacco-stained teeth. "You've been out for 2 days. It's normal to have a headache when you first wake up. Don't think about it too much. Have some porridge to settle your stomach. We'll be docking tonight. We can take you to a hospital then." I thanked him and searched my pockets, but I didn't have a single penny. I did, however, have 2 rings hanging around my neck. One was gold, the other diamond. I couldn't remember who gave them to me, but seeing them made my head throb and my stomach turn. I thought for a moment, took off the gold ring, and handed it to the woman. I think, I have amnesia. Could I stay with you for a few more days? The woman didn't take the gold ring. If you have amnesia, you definitely shouldn't be giving your things away. You might need it to find your family later. I couldn't tell her that the ring made me want to vomit, so I just said, then please hold it as collateral. As soon as I get my memory back, I'll pay you back with cash. The woman smiled. All right. Is it okay if you sleep with my son again tonight? The rest of the boat is filled with junk. I nodded. The little boy's name was Danny. After dinner, he lay down next to me. He chattered away while listening to the waves, his eyes sparkling. When it gets a little darker, animals will come out to feed in this part of the sea. It gets really lively. Don't fall asleep yet, mister. Talk to me. The wind is strong today, and we're low on fuel, so we probably won't dock until after 11. Can I go to the hospital with you then? I have a tooth that won't fall out. My mom told me to pull it myself, but I'm scared. I want to see a doctor. I agreed to everything. As he kept calling me mister, I slowly drifted into a fog of memories. It felt like I used to chase after someone else, calling him brother. And he would always respond gently. He'd pull me into his arms and put medicine on my scraped knee. He'd gently kiss away the tears of pain from the corners of my eyes. He seemed like a very good person. I tried to focus to see his face clearly, but before I could, he shoved me away. His hysterical yelling followed. You're a monster. Get out. Stay away from me. I froze for a moment, and then I realized, in my memories, I think, I was a really annoying person. Why else would my brother, who had always been so gentle, call me a monster? After the boat docked, Mr. Miller took me and Danny ashore. We went to the ER, paid the fees, and ran some tests. It wasn't until after 1 in the morning that all the reports were ready. Danny had already fallen asleep on a bench. Mr. Miller was watching him. When he saw me come out, he asked, "How is it? Is it treatable?" I shook my head. The results showed no problems with my brain. The doctor said I probably ingested water in the sea, and the near-death experience prompted me to actively forget certain things. Mr. Miller comforted me. It's okay, don't worry. You'll remember eventually. Or, I could take you to the police station? With today's technology, they should be able to identify you with facial recognition. At the end of the hallway, a middle-aged man in a suit was looking down at a report in a woman's hands. He must have heard Mr. Miller and me talking, because he turned his head and looked in my direction. My heart leaped violently, and I quickly turned my back. Let's go. I'll think about it when we get back. Mr. Miller was craving a cigarette and was also anxious to leave the hospital. Okay, he said. He picked up Danny and headed for the exit. I followed close behind. That gaze trailed me like a shadow, like a venomous snake. I finally breathed a sigh of relief once we were out of the hospital. I thought about it and found a 24-hour pawn shop to sell the gold ring. I got over $10,000 in cash. I gave $6,000 to Mr. Miller and kept $10,000 for myself. Mr. Miller didn't refuse. Times are tough lately, so I won't be polite with you, son. Just know one thing. You can always stay on my boat, for as long as you want. I forced a smile. Thank you. Hey, did you guys see the news? The Hayes family's younger son is missing. He disappeared from his brother's wedding banquet. You think it's some kind of rich family secret? My second uncle's son's classmate's wife said that the 2 Hayes brothers are gay. Holy shit, that's explosive. Is that for real? Totally real. The Hayes family sent both sons to a conversion therapy center. There's proof, pictures, and everything. I'll find it for you. My vision blurred. I felt unsteady and knocked over a jewelry box on the counter. The salesperson jumped and rushed over. Sir, are you okay? Is it low blood sugar? Do you want some water and a place to sit down? The gold ring I had just pawned was still on the counter. A wave of nausea hit me. I gagged twice, steadying myself against the counter. I'm fine. The salesperson smiled apologetically. Sorry about that. The young people in the shop love to gossip. You probably think it's disgusting too, right? Two brothers getting together. It's against all morals and ethics. Mr. Miller patted my back and chimed in, "Hey, it's their business. It wouldn't matter to us if their whole family was getting together. Besides, it's the 21st century. Being gay isn't illegal. These rich people are so hypocritical. You don't see them making a fuss when they're sleeping around with men and women, but two guys together is suddenly a huge scandal." The salesperson's smile froze. Right? I suppose it is a bit of an overreaction. It's a new era of romantic freedom, after all. The nausea subsided. I took a moment to recover, then left the shop with Mr. Miller. A pair of hands suddenly grabbed my shirt from behind, and an angry voice yelled, "Vincent Hayes, you're not dead?" I turned around and met a stranger's face. I say stranger, but he looked a little familiar. But I couldn't remember who he was. "I thought you looked like him at the hospital, and I was right when I followed you out. Why are you so hard to get rid of? Can't you just stay dead? What are you doing back here? Are you still trying to cling to your brother?" My mind snagged on the words "my brother" for a second, but the memory was still a total blur. I took a deep breath and calmly pulled his hand off my shirt. "Sir, please have some self-respect. I don't even know you." His face twisted for a second, as if he just heard the funniest joke in the world. "You don't know me? I'm your damn father. The fact that you got out of that place. You were faking it, weren't you? You never really got over your brother, right? I should have known. A worthless dog like you would never give up a bone, even in death. How could you change your mind so easily?" His voice trailed off as he saw my calm stare. I looked at him and said, word for word, "My name is not Vincent Hayes. My name is Vincent Miller. And you're not my father. This man next to me is." Mr. Miller snapped out of his daze and immediately played along. "This is my son. Hey, you can't just go around claiming other people's kids." Danny, who had woken up from the shouting, rubbed his eyes. "Vincent, what's wrong?" The man's gaze wavered. "Your last name is really Miller?" I nodded. His phone buzzed. He answered it and his expression changed. "I'll be right there. Wait for me." He started walking away, but not without turning back to warn me. "I don't care if you're Vincent Miller or Vincent Hayes. If you dare come back to the Hayes family, I'll make you regret it." Mr. Miller carefully studied my expression. That guy just now. I knew what he wanted to ask and just shook my head. I don't know him. I couldn't remember anything. The people I knew, the things I'd experienced, all gone. Mr. Miller sighed and muttered under his breath, "Forgetting is probably for the best. Having a father like that is a curse." I started living on the fishing boat. In the mornings, I'd go fishing with Danny. In the afternoons, I'd teach him math. He was very happy. I never had anyone to play with during summer vacation before. It was so boring living on the boat. Tomorrow is the summer solstice. Dad said we're docking. "Vincent, can you come play on shore with me?" My immediate instinct was to refuse. The man I'd met the last time we were on land had left a dark cloud over me. I had a bad feeling that something terrible would happen if I went ashore again. Danny saw my hesitation and quickly added, "We're stopping far away this time, several cities away from that last place. We won't run into any of those crazies. You're the best. Vincent, please come with me." He came over and grabbed my arm, begging. I caved and agreed. Danny dashed off. "Yay,
I'm gonna go pack snacks.
we're going ashore to play." I couldn't help but smile as I looked down and continued correcting his homework. Living on the boat with little contact with others, the things that used to give me headaches were gradually fading away. I rarely even had nightmares anymore. I felt a lot more relaxed. If things went well, I was planning to stay on shore today, find a job, and rent an apartment. It was time to start a new life. The gossip sites said that the heir to Hayes Corp was on his honeymoon with his new wife. They were taking a leisurely cruise, starting from Miami and enjoying the sights. Hayes Corp had recently undergone a major shakeup with significant personnel changes. Some speculated it was related to the disappearance of the family's younger son. I placed my phone face down on the table and shook my head. I didn't get it. The news feed kept pushing these gossip stories on me, and yet I clicked on them every time. After reading them, I always felt drained. The boat docked. Danny took my hand and happily stepped ashore. This time, Mrs. Miller came with us to the night market. Mr. Miller stayed behind to watch the boat, not forgetting to call out, "Remember to bring me back 2 packs of cigarettes. I'm out." Mrs. Miller scolded him. "No way. You smoke all day. Go look in the mirror at those teeth. They're so yellow they glow." Danny leaned in close to me and whispered, "Mom always says she won't bring Dad cigarettes, but she always buys them before we head back. They fight like they're putting on a play." I couldn't help but laugh. "Quiet down. If your dad hears you, you'll get a spanking when you get back." Danny immediately covered his behind and glanced back at his father. "Vincent, you scared me. I really thought my dad heard." There was a tall set of stairs ahead. I bent down, lifted Danny up, and set him on the top step. As I took a step up myself, I wasn't paying attention and bumped into a solid, broad back. A crisp, pine-like scent filled my nose. I froze for a second, then looked up and met a pair of reddened, almond-shaped eyes. He opened his mouth and called my name. "Vincent." On the day of the summer solstice, I met a strange man. The wind at the seaside night market was strong, making the string lights sway. The colorful halos of light shimmered, creating a scene that felt like a long-awaited reunion. He pulled me into his arms, his whole body trembling, yet he didn't dare to hold me too tightly. It was as if he were holding a fragile, rediscovered treasure. "Vincent." He called my name over and over, and kept repeating, "I'm sorry." I stood there, at a complete loss, unsure if I should hug him back. Danny was confused. He couldn't help but ask, "Vincent, do you know him?" I shook my head. "No." The man's body went rigid, and he slowly let go of me. His eyes were filled with sorrow and other emotions I couldn't understand. A woman walked over from a short distance away. When she saw me, her expression changed. She grabbed his arm, ready to pull him away. He ignored her, stubbornly gripping my wrist, his voice hoarse. "Vincent, it's me, your brother. You don't recognize me?" I frowned, looked down, and just said, "I don't know you, and you're hurting me." My wrist had a red mark where he'd gripped it. Danny blew on it, angry. "What kind of person grabs a stranger's hand and squeezes it like that?" "Vincent, move it around. Does your wrist hurt?" I gave him a reassuring smile. "It's okay. It's not that bad. It just hurt for a second when he was squeezing it so tight." Danny huffed. "No wonder you don't like coming ashore, Vincent. There are so many creeps on land. You're so good looking. People are always harassing you." The person being labeled a harasser was now following behind me. He kept his distance, not too close, not too far, and didn't bother us. Danny noticed and deliberately raised his voice. So shameless. These days, men harass women and men harass men too. So disgusting. With every word Danny said, the man's face grew paler. Finally, he looked as if he were about to collapse. Fearing he might actually have a heart attack or something, I quickly covered Danny's mouth. I thought for a moment, then stopped and waved the man over. His eyes lit up, and he quickly walked toward me. "Vincent, did you remember?" Couldn't help but frown. "No, and I don't plan to. I sometimes dream about the past, and every single memory is painful. If you and I had some kind of connection before, you should forget about it. It's better for both of us." I had already decided to start a new life. As for the past, I just pretend it never happened. The man swayed on his feet. The woman, who was a few steps behind, rushed forward to support him, crying as she spoke. "David stayed up for nights on end looking for you. Now that he's finally found you, how can you say something like that to him?" I couldn't help but let out a cynical laugh. Did I ask him to lose sleep looking for me? Where was he before? Putting on a show of devotion now. The fragmented dreams, the hateful middle-aged man I met at the pawn shop, and now this man, who looked so worn out and heartbroken. Everything lined up with the gossip news. It all confirmed that I was Vincent Hayes, the missing younger son of the Hayes family. But so what? I couldn't remember any of it. The dreams were filled with nothing but humiliation. Why would I go back to a family like that, to a life where I could barely breathe? I was done with that kind of life. I was scared of it, disgusted by it. Didn't you call me a monster? Wouldn't it be better if you just assumed I was dead? My death was what you all wanted, wasn't it? So why now? Why show up now, appearing before me, expressing regret, expressing love? My heart was pounding, and my ears were ringing. I crouched down, my vision already blurry. I could hear Danny's anxious shouts. Vincent, what's wrong with you? Mom, come quick. Vincent fainted. A stark white ceiling came into view. A dull ache throbbed in the back of my head. Memories came rushing back like a flood. I pressed my lips together and looked out the window. A light rain was falling today, a soft drizzle that matched my mood. The hospital room door creaked open. A child's tearful voice drifted in. Vincent, you're finally awake. You scared me to death. Danny, who was always so optimistic and cheerful, now had a face on the verge of tears. His mouth was turned down, and his eyes were welling up. I forced a smile. I'm okay now. Don't worry. He burst into tears with a loud wah. My headache got worse. Mrs. Miller came in and quickly covered Danny's mouth. Don't cry. You have to be quiet in the hospital. Vincent hasn't fully recovered yet. If you cry, he'll get upset, and what if it makes things worse? Hearing that, Danny immediately stopped crying. I won't cry. Vincent, don't be sad either. Mrs. Miller looked at me, a little embarrassed. Vincent, your brother, he's outside the room. He wants to come in and see you. If you don't want to see him, I can send him away for you. I nodded. Please. I heard voices outside the door. Soon, the sound of footsteps faded away. Danny leaned over the bed and looked at me, blinking, and asked sadly, Vincent, do you like that brother? My heart skipped a beat. Why do you ask that? Danny's face was crestfallen. Everyone says you like him. But Vincent, he makes you so sad. Can you please not like him anymore? You can give the love you have for him to me instead. I like you a lot too, Vincent, so that way you won't get hurt. I had to laugh. My like and your like are different. Danny was confused. How are they different? I thought for a moment and replied, I guess they're different in every way. One was the pure love between brothers, the other an undefinable, complicated love. David came to my hospital room door every day to stand guard. He would leave only after being rejected. On the day I was discharged, he broke his routine and forced his way into the room. He started packing my things without a word. Danny watched him warily, ready to pounce and shove him out if I so much as said the word. I thought for a moment, then sighed. I asked Danny to step out first. I need to talk to this brother of mine. Danny looked back every 3 steps. Okay, Vincent, if you need anything, just call me, and I'll be right back in. The door closed. David didn't stop packing. I tapped on the table. His body went rigid. Come here. David pressed his lips together and obediently walked over. Your father sent you to a conversion therapy center too, didn't he? That's what I'd overheard at the pawn shop when I had amnesia. David's head shot up. Why did you say too? I looked at him calmly and asked, what do you think? David was trembling all over. You were sent there too, weren't you? He shot to his feet, his eyes bloodshot. I'm going to find him. I reached out and grabbed the corner of his shirt. David, don't you want to talk with me? This might be the last time we ever speak this calmly. David froze, then sank weakly back into the chair. Seeing him like this for the first time was, honestly, pretty strange. Do you regret it? I asked him. His answer was a single tear that slid from the corner of his eye. My brother is a sentimental person. So when our parents came back to him, full of remorse, his heart softened immediately, and he decided to give them another chance. But that one chance led to both of us being sent to a conversion therapy center. The things he said to me when the electroshock therapy made him lose his memory, the things he said about me being disgusting, about wishing I would die, they cut deeper than any physical torture. At the time, I didn't know he had been to one of those places. Now I do. I understand his suffering. But what about the pain he caused me? Am I supposed to just pretend it didn't matter?
Impossible.
I can't accept being with him again. Can't go back to the sweet relationship we used to have. Vincent, please give me another chance. Okay? He held my hand, praying reverently. I gave a bitter smile. You're already married. Be responsible for her. Our relationship ends here. David clung to that like a lifeline. I'm not married. I frowned at him. David kissed my fingertips. I called off the wedding. We never got the license. Chloe stayed by my side because I asked her to. I asked her to help me put on a show, to make my father let his guard down so I could clean house at Hayes Corp. Vincent, I'm not married. I'm not tainted. Please just give me one more chance. Chloe came to see me, explaining things with a sad smile. The moment you jumped from the cruise ship, he remembered everything. He jumped in right after you. After he found you, he put you on a small island in the sea to keep you safe and only left after he saw you'd been rescued. When he came back, he developed a high fever and was sick for over a month. By the time he recovered, he had mixed up the fishing boat's registration number during his fever. He had no choice but to look for you while also handling company business. He doesn't need to feel guilty. I had my own selfish reasons for staying by his side. She looked at me, her eyes full of envy. The truth is, I've been in love with him for years. I knew he loved you, his brother, to the point of no return. But when his father contacted me about an arranged marriage, I was still tempted. I thought, what if? What if he never remembered? What if he could fall in love with me? But reality hit me like a slap in the face. Even with amnesia, he never showed me any affection beyond friendship. Even after the conversion center brainwashed him to hate men, he still dove in after you without a second thought when he saw you were in danger. Vincent, I'm so envious of you. My feelings were complicated. David cooked for me every day. Afraid I would reject him, he didn't dare to see me. He would just knock on my door and leave the food outside. Hayes Corp gradually came back under his control. The illegal conversion therapy center was shut down. Summer vacation ended, and Danny stopped going out on the fishing boat and went back to school. He would come over to my place on weekends and bring me a Power Ranger figure he made at school. He whispered to me, I hid an alarm inside the Power Ranger. If that weird older guy tries anything funny with you, just press it. I guarantee the whole building will hear it. He called David that weird older guy, saying that whenever he came to see me, he would always find him sitting on the corner of the stairs one floor below, sometimes even crying. I felt a pang in my heart. Danny added he looked super pathetic. But then again, he could just be faking it. I mean, why would a grown man cry all the time? He's so fragile, right? My brother really is a good actor. In the past, when things got intense and he'd make me cry, he would pretend to cry too, afraid I'd hold it against him later. And I'd always fall for it. Not anymore. My heart is as hard as iron now. Seriously. September 16th is my brother's birthday. He knocked on my door, holding a birthday cake. This time, he didn't leave. He squeezed inside with the cake. I was a little annoyed. Didn't you say you wouldn't force me? David lowered his gaze, not daring to look at me. I didn't mean to. I just accidentally happened to walk in. I had to laugh. Fine. I forgive you. You can go now. The corners of David's eyes reddened. He looked pitiful. It's my birthday today, Vincent. Please don't kick me out. Okay? I scoffed. Then do you remember when my birthday is? David answered instantly, June 28th. I looked at him and asked, word for word, and what were you doing on that day? Before that day, he had amnesia. On my birthday, he told me to get lost, called me a monster, and said I was disgusting. He said he would rather die than ever fall in love with me. David was instantly flustered. He hurriedly opened the cake box and pulled a stack of stock transfer certificates from his bag. I was an asshole. I'm not human. Vincent, don't be angry. I brought you presents. The cake had my name on it, wishing me a happy birthday. The stock transfer certificates stated they were a voluntary gift. Hayes Corp will belong to our Vincent from now on. I'll work for you for free. If my attitude is even a little off in the future, you can kick me to the curb. He looked at me and asked cautiously, Vincent, will you give me one more chance? Please? I struggled for a moment, but in the end, I couldn't resist the temptation. Fine, let's try one more time. A person can't be suffocated by regret their whole life. Maybe this time, love really can overcome anything. David, don't you dare fail me again. I swear, I'll never fail you again.